All right, welcome into the postgame show, everybody. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5 in the paint. I'm your host, Dan Tanner. Hey, we're talking about a win, and not just a win, a massive win for the Denver Nuggets. They go into Houston and beat the Rockets, who are the 2 seed in the West right now, on a 9-game winning streak with no Nikola Jokic. And the Nuggets are able to go into Houston and secure the victory. What a win for the Denver Nuggets. That was absolutely outstanding what we saw tonight. 116 to 111 is your final, and a monster game as far as the standings go, as far as the Nuggets just looking to bounce back after 2 horrendous games in Los Angeles and Portland. You heard Coach Malone rip his team after the Portland game, and we're definitely going to get into that. And there were some interesting lineup decisions tonight. If you remember, after the Portland game, KJ and I were on here talking about, obviously, the rebounding was just horrendous in Portland against the Trailblazers. And I was sitting here saying, like, oh, why not throw DeAndre Jordan in there or Dario Saric, if at all, just for rebounding purposes? Well, Malone decided to, I guess, take our advice on that, because he actually started DeAndre Jordan in today's game. DJ played 38 minutes in today's basketball game, and I thought he was fantastic. 5 of 7 from the field, 11 points, had a steal, and he had 15 rebounds. That is why he was in there this evening. Now, look, I don't know when Nikola Jokic is coming back. The guys on the broadcast were saying that Malone thinks he will be back on the Nuggets' upcoming homestand. I don't believe he's going to play tomorrow night against the Chicago Bulls here in the Mile High City, but he went through his warm-ups today, and Marlo and Katie were saying on the broadcast that he looked good. So that's positive news. But until that happens, how do you not start DeAndre Jordan? Just, if at all, for defensive and rebounding purposes, and just the leadership that I think he gives this team while he's out there on the court as well, I think is pretty valuable from DeAndre Jordan. But hey, I applaud Coach Malone for that decision. Again, after the Trailblazers game, I was sitting here saying, like, man, why wouldn't you throw DJ in there? If you're having that much trouble rebounding the basketball, you got to have another big in there, especially with Nikola Jokic out. That's what they did. And I tell you what, the Nuggets sure as hell rebounded the ball much, much better than they did in Los Angeles or Portland. I mean, they were, Coach Malone, he really went on a rant after they lost to Portland, and rightfully so. And, you always hear the saying, like, the coaches only have a couple of those cards to play throughout the year before it sort of starts to fall on deaf ears. Well, he decided to play that card after the loss to Portland. And you always got to wonder, are the guys going to take this to heart? Are they going to blow it off? Well, what is their reaction going to be? And clearly, at the start of this game, and from the start of this game to the very end, you could tell that the Nuggets took that personal. What Coach Malone said about them, not only in his press conference, but he ripped them in the locker room too, because he said he did. You could tell the Nuggets really took that to heart, which is great to see. Knowing this team like I do, I would have been very surprised if they were just like, whatever, coaches just kind of blowing smoke up our asses sort of thing. I would have been very surprised if that was the mindset or the reaction that they had after that game. But that clearly was not the case. I mean, from the very start of this game, you could tell that the Nuggets were very, very aware of rebounding the basketball, specifically on the defensive end. By the way, the Houston Rockets, they're the number 1 rebounding team in the NBA. And they're the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the entire NBA. The Nuggets only lost the rebound battle by 2. So that's a win for the Nuggets. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So that was great to see. Michael Porter Jr., if you listen to the show consistently, you know my rule for him. I think he should be able to get 10 rebounds a game. He got 9 tonight. So he was right there. He did a much better job of rebounding the basketball in today's game, which was absolutely fantastic to see. The Nuggets won the points in the paint battle, which they got smoked by Portland in the painted area. I mean, they won it by 2, but I think they lost the points in the paint battle by close to 30 points against the Portland Trailblazers. And how about this? Fast break points. The Nuggets had 14. They're the number 1 fast break team in the NBA. The Rockets had 0. They had 0 fast break points, which means that the Nuggets were doing their job rebounding the basketball and able to set up their defense. So that was, I tell you what, I said this after the Portland game. We could be doing a post-game show Sunday evening, and it could be sunshines and rainbows for, all we know, because this team is so Jekyll and Hyde that it's just, they're kind of bipolar in a way, like they're really up one day and then they're really down. And it's just, this team has been a wild ride this year. I mean, they've just been a roller coaster, but the fact that they won the fast break points 14-0 was outstanding. And they only allowed 16 offensive rebounds to Houston, which seems like a lot, but I think Houston averages close to 20 a game. So they did their jobs on that end. Now, they made it a game in the fourth quarter. The Nuggets just, for whatever reason, couldn't seem to get their offense rolling in that fourth quarter. This game was really bogged down by challenge after challenge after challenge after replay. Specifically towards the end of that third and early on in the fourth, I do think that kind of messed with the Nuggets' rhythm on the offense a little bit, on the offensive end a little bit. But you get a 39-point third quarter, and that's the benefit of having a monster third quarter is if you do struggle in that fourth to score the basketball, you built up a big enough lead by the end of the third in order to pull this game out. So excellent job. I mean, the defense in that third quarter, they won the third quarter by 17 points. It was 39-22 in that third quarter. This was a very, very close game in the first half. In fact, it was tied up at 27 after the end of the first quarter. And the second quarter was 30-30. It was 57 all going into halftime. And then the Nuggets just blitzed them in that third quarter. And Jamal Murray, my goodness, that's the thing with this team. And that's what's so perplexing and just kind of makes you want to pull your hair out watching the Denver Nuggets this year, because Jamal will get into these sort of lulls throughout the season where it's like, man, what is he doing out there? Not scoring the basketball. He's not being aggressive. He's not putting up a lot of shots, especially when Joker's out. I mean, Jamal and Michael Porter Jr., that's what I was getting on him for after the Portland game. They got to shoot the ball more, and they've got to be more aggressive, especially when Joker's not in there. That's exactly what they did tonight. I mean, Michael took 16 shots and Jamal took 28. He almost got to 30. That's exactly what I was talking about. And you see the fruits of that labor ends up in a win for the Nuggets. 15 for 28 was Jamal Murray from the field. And he only took 6 3-pointers. He was 4 of 6. I love my favorite part about tonight's game was the aggressiveness of Jamal Murray. I thought that was outstanding. And I tell you what, Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, that clown Dylan Brooks, I think he's a clown. He's a pretty good player, but he's a clown. They were trying to get under Jamal's skin, trying to get in his head. And that really was my favorite part about tonight's game. Jamal was loving it. I mean, I don't think I can remember a game where I saw Jamal Murray laughing and smiling more than today's game in Houston. That's the thing with Jamal. He's very, very difficult to get under his skin type of guy or get in his head. He thrives on that. He feeds off of it. And Dylan Brooks is trash talking him. Van Vliet's trying to be, physical with them when they're trying to set screens for Jamal to get an open shot. And he was absolutely loving it. In that third quarter, Jamal just comes down, waits till there's like 5 seconds left on the shot clock, just holds the ball. And I'm like, what is he doing? Drives to the lane, dumps it off to DeAndre Jordan for a monster slam. And Jamal was just absolutely fired up after that. So again, man, this team is so hard to figure out. But I will say, if Jamal Murray is doing what he did tonight, if he can even be sort of close to that consistently down the stretch here and into the playoffs, that's going to be a huge, huge thing for the Nuggets. They've got to get this version of Jamal Murray for the remainder of the regular season and postseason. If they can get this Jamal Murray, they've got a shot. We saw it in 2023. Jamal was lights out in that playoff run. He was lights out in the bubble in 2020. And the Nuggets made it to the Western Conference Finals, still earlier on in this core's developmental stage. But that's going to be one of the keys. And I do still think Michael Porter Jr. needs to produce more on the offensive end. He's going to have to produce more than even he did tonight. 17 points. Okay. I think he can get closer to 22, 23 points a game. I think if Michael Porter Jr. can be right around that 22 to 24 point marker consistently, that is also going to be a massive boost for the Denver Nuggets as far as their ability to realistically compete for the championship this year. So, I mean, this win, I tell you, this is going to have big-time implications down the stretch as far as the playoff seeding goes. It is so tight right now in the Western Conference, other than Oklahoma City, who has a 13-game lead on the 2-seeded Houston Rockets. But so the Nuggets are 1 game back of Houston for the 2-seed. They're 1 game up on the Lakers, who lost to the Bulls last night. Thank you, Bulls. And they're 2 games up. They're 1.5 games up on the 5-seed Memphis Grizzlies, who have lost 3 in a row. And they're 3.5 up on Golden State, who's in the 6th seed. So if they lost this game this afternoon, I mean, they're in definitely in the 4 seed. And, they're only 2.5 games out of the play-in. So this was, I wouldn't call it a must-win, but it was pretty close. And this just goes to show you that if Nikola Jokic didn't play in this game, that this isn't load management. This is him recovering from a significant injury. Because if he was going to play at any point on this road trip, it would have been today's game because of the significance and the importance of this game. But it sounds like he's progressing well. And like I said earlier, if you missed it, they were talking about, Katie and Chris Marlowe were talking about on the broadcast that they did watch Joker go through his normal pregame warm-up routine. Said he looked good, looked comfortable. That means he's obviously getting closer to returning. And I'm telling you, obviously you want Nikola Jokic to be as healthy as he possibly can be. But I think this is a blessing in disguise with what's going on with Nikola Jokic right now. Now, obviously, hopefully his ankle is able to heal up as close to 100% as it possibly can before the playoffs start. But I've said this the whole year. The problem with the end of last season is this team was run into the ground. And I've been asking all year, is Michael Malone going to learn his lesson? Now, would he be playing Nikola Jokic if he wasn't injured? Big time minutes? I don't know. But this is a blessing in disguise. So he's going to be out in tomorrow's game. I'm almost positive that I heard them say on the broadcast that he is out tomorrow, but he should be back at some point on their upcoming homestand. That's 5 games. That's a good week and a half break for Nikola Jokic at least 3 weeks before the playoffs start. This is a development in the regular season that I think could really have a huge impact on the Nuggets in the playoffs. If they get a rested, healthy Nikola Jokic come playoff time, that is going to be monstrous. And by the way, Jamal Murray, he missed a couple of games. He's been back now for 2. He looks pretty damn good as far as health goes. He is moving really well. Aaron Gordon looks like he's moving really well. Now, I'm knocking on wood here, especially with Aaron Gordon, just because the calf injury has been just plaguing him all season long. But the fact that he's been able to play in every game on this road trip is another really encouraging sign. So, look, the Nuggets are getting their best player some much-needed rest and rehab on that ankle right now. 3 weeks before the playoffs start. Jamal's back. Looks like he's pretty healthy, moving well. Aaron Gordon looks like he's pretty healthy, moving well. And really, other than that, the rest of the team is knocking on wood, pretty dang healthy right now. So this is a really, really good sign as we near the end of the regular season that the Denver Nuggets are putting themselves in a position to really get after it in the playoffs. And I hope that's the case because, again, the end of last year just irked me, and I know it irked a lot of Nuggets fans because this team was just so ground up at the end of that series against Minnesota. And that was the whole thing this year is, are they going to learn that lesson? Now, I've also been saying all season long, too, that I don't really care about the 2 or the 3 seed. I'd rather have this team healthy and as healthy and as rested as they possibly can be as the 5 or the 6 seed going into the playoffs versus grinding it out for the 2 or 3 seed. Now, the benefit is they're still in a very good position to try to get the 2 seed while resting Nikola Jokic and getting him as healthy as they can. So the way this is playing out, at least as of today, seems to be working out really well. And we'll see when and if Nikola Jokic does end up coming back on this homestand. But I tell you what, I mean, it's so tough now because there's so few games to go and they are they're right there for the 2 seed that I do understand fans saying, hey, let's try and get the 2 seed. But I'm just not in that camp. I'm just not. But they have a 5-game homestand coming up. They've got the Bulls, they've got the Bucks, they've got the Jazz, they've got the Timberwolves, and they've got the Spurs, who don't have De'Aaron Fox or Victor Wembanyama. So really, 3 of these games on this 5-game homestand that's starting tomorrow are very winnable games. Chicago, Utah, and San Antonio. The 2 tougher matchups will obviously be Milwaukee and Minnesota, who's just, for whatever reason, obviously has the Nuggets number right now. So we know Joker's not playing tomorrow night. I would sit him if I were Michael Malone. I would sit Nikola Jokic until next Tuesday. That's against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think it would set up perfectly that way. So Chicago's on Monday, the Bucks are on Wednesday, and the Utah Jazz are on Friday. And then they have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off. They have a 3-day break after they play the Jazz on Friday. We're looking at close to 3 weeks of a break for Nikola Jokic if they decide to go that route. And 2 of those 3 games I'm asking him to sit in are very winnable games even without Nikola Jokic. Now the Bucks game is going to be tougher. But that would be my plan. And feel free to share yours in the comment section. I'd love to react to that here in just a second. But that would be my plan. And then look, that leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. If they went that route, my plan for Nikola Jokic, he would finish out the last 7 games of the season. I think that would be more than enough time for him to kind of just get back in the groove, get his conditioning back up, shake whatever rust he has built up, shake that rust off, and let's see. And I know this is looking pretty far ahead, but the last game of the season, 2 weeks from today, is in Houston against the Rockets. That game very well could be for the 2 seed in the Western Conference. I mean, I get it. There's still a lot of games to be played in between that. But if that is the case, that would set up pretty damn well for the Denver Nuggets. And this 5-game homestand, I think, will really, depending on how it starts out, especially in these first 3, before they have that 3-day break and then they play Minnesota. I think depending on how this homestand starts is really going to determine how hard Malone pushes these guys for the remainder of the season. If it starts out bad, you for whatever reason lose to either Chicago or Utah, then maybe you take your foot off the gas a little bit. But if they start out hot on this homestand, I think they're going to go for it. I mean, I do. And again, I am changing my tune a little bit just because Nikola Jokic has had a good chunk of time off. That's kind of what I've been asking for. So we'll see. I mean, and again, if you missed it, I can't remember what game it was. This was like a week or so ago. But after the game in the locker room, Aaron Gordon said that, after that game, that this was the best he had felt all season. So it according to Aaron Gordon, it sounds like he's as healthy as he's been all year, which is excellent news. So my point being is, maybe you can roll with Aaron Gordon for the rest of the season without having to rest him. I mean, I don't know what their plan is with AG as far as that left calf injury management goes. I'd be completely fine if they decided to rest him a game here or there. Same with Jamal Murray. But this win really puts a lot of things in motion for the Denver Nuggets team as far as the rest of the regular season goes. And the fact that, look, this win also turned a 4-game road trip from a complete disaster into it's pretty good. You go 2-2 on a 4-game road trip against 4 very good teams without the best player on the planet, and you go 2-2 and you beat the Houston Rockets today, the team that's ahead of you in the standings. That's a win in my book. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So excellent win for the Nuggets this evening. They get the 116-111 victory over the Houston Rockets. They're now just 1 game back of the 2-seeded Houston Rockets. That is absolutely monstrous. All right, let's get to some of your comments here. Feel free to leave them here. I want to get your thoughts, reactions to the game. Do you like my plan? Do you not like my plan? Just give it to me straight, okay? I can take it, all right? But I do think it would benefit not only Nikola, but the team as a whole if they just sat him these first 3 games on the homestand, the upcoming 5-game homestand, and then you bring him back for that Timberwolves game. That would be my plan. But let me know what you think in the comments here. Marion says, take that W. That's right. Like Kevin HDT. Kevin, appreciate you listening. Let's see. Derek here says, I thought that we were going to be talking about the Final Four. Hey, I will say I did have the CSU game on my laptop while I was watching the Nuggets game, and just a heartbreaking loss for the CSU Rams. They hit a 3 to go up by 1 with 3.5 seconds to go. Maryland calls a timeout. And that dude definitely traveled, by the way. I don't even know his name. The kid from Maryland who hit the game winner. That was absolutely a travel. In fact, I was watching replays on it, and somebody actually literally broke it down by the rule book. And that's just a heartbreaker for CSU. I mean, that was the best game of the tournament that I've seen so far. It was just an outstanding game and just an incredible effort, incredible season from the CSU Rams men's basketball program. That was a heartbreaker, but really, really great season for them. I hope they can build on that, and hopefully that kind of kicks Tad Boyle and the Buffs in the ass a little bit to get their program up and running again, because they were not good this year. But All right, let's see some of your comments here. You can give me your thoughts on the CSU game too. That was a BS travel call, or no call, I should say. So that kind of pisses me off, and I'm sure a lot of CSU fans were not happy about that, and rightfully so, because that's just ridiculous. This kind of does tie into the NBA. Like, I've thought about this for years. How many times in an NBA game do you see a guy take 3 steps and they never call it? It's like, is it 2 steps the max or not? Because if they're taking 3 steps according to the rule book, that is a travel. Why aren't they calling it? And this goes into the NBA and the NCAA. It's just one of those things where it's like, either change the rule or start calling it, because it hardly ever gets called and you see it all the time. So it's just absolutely ridiculous. Let's see here. Dante says, did you see Vic trying to open a can of light beer? No, I did not. If you have that video, I would love to see that. I don't know. Is Vic celebrating today's win with a beer? I mean, that's cool. Good for Vic. I'm trying to see if they posted that on Altitude's Twitter. I don't see it on here, but yeah, that's good stuff. Okay, let's see here. Dante says, but what's up with Houston? You be a little more specific there for me, Dante. I'm not sure what you're saying. But by the way, the Rockets coming into this game, 9-game winning streak. The Nuggets are streak snappers, as Vic said on the broadcast. They've ended 2 6-game winning streaks this year, a 7-game win streak. They just ended Golden State's 8-game win streak to start this road trip, and they ended by ending the Rockets' 9-game winning streak. I don't know what it is about the Nuggets this year, but they really are the streak snappers. And that's good to see. I mean, it means they're getting up to play these really good teams, and they kind of struggle against against the bad teams for whatever. They go 0-2 against the Washington Wizards this year, which is just mind-blowing to me. And then they're able to go into Houston and snap their 9-game winning streak and get to within a game of the 2 seed. Let's see here. This is the best way for a healthy postseason. I'm hopeful. Yeah. So you agree with my point. I appreciate that very much. Look, again, this really is starting to shape up in a very positive way for the Denver Nuggets heading into the postseason, because I've been harping on this all year, because I really do think it is that important and crucial for this team at this stage. You've got all of your best players smack dab in the middle of their primes. This has been an injury-plagued season for the Nuggets. We've seen Aaron Gordon miss close to 30 games. Jamal Murray's earlier on in the year was in and out of the lineup. He's been back for a while. Although he did turn his ankle against the Wizards and missed a couple of games as well. But he looks like he's feeling good. I mean, the way he was moving without the basketball today too was outstanding. I mean, it reminded me a little bit of like how Steph Curry moves without the basketball. That's what I was seeing from Jamal Murray tonight. And that's going to be key. Now, they just need to get Michael Porter Jr. to try to move without the basketball like that too. And I think that could unlock a new level to his game, because Michael just seems like he's just stuck in the mud right now. And, tell me if you disagree, and this isn't just like this road trip. This has seemed really since post All-Star break. Michael, just for whatever reason, has not been able to get his game to that next level like the Nuggets need him to do so. Hopefully we can see Michael really turn it on here in the last couple of weeks of the regular season and get some momentum building into the playoffs, and mostly just getting his confidence up. But I will say, Michael didn't have a spectacular game tonight by any means, but my favorite stat tonight from Michael was 9 rebounds. I think he had 3 against Portland. And really just the Nuggets as a whole, rebounding the basketball, which is what I started the show with, was so much better than in the previous 2 games in Los Angeles and Friday night in Portland, where they were absolutely abysmal rebounding the basketball. And Malone said after that game against Portland, and it's so true, rebounding is about effort and want to. All right. Like, I don't want to hear the excuses that, well, they don't have Nikola Jokic in there. He's their 7-foot center. He's the best rebounder on the team, which he is. And I get it. Their rebounding isn't going to be as good without Nikola Jokic. But that doesn't mean it has to turn into what we saw specifically Friday night against the Portland Trailblazers, because that was absolutely atrocious watching that basketball game pretty much in every way, especially the second half. Their want to and their effort tonight rebounding the basketball, I mean, you could tell right away they were placing a heavy emphasis on snapping down those rebounds on the defensive glass. And DeAndre Jordan obviously helped with that as well. But there was multiple times in today's game where there were 3 Nuggets players all going up for the rebound at the same time to make sure they secured the rebound. That's what this team's going to have to do, especially when Nikola Jokic is not out there. It's going to be a team effort rebounding when Joker's not in there. By the way, even when Nikola Jokic is in the game, that's the mindset that this team needs to have rebounding the basketball. And, Malone did make one other interesting point. He talked about how, the Nuggets being the best fast break team in the NBA, the best transition team, the best running team in the NBA, which they are. He said it's both a blessing and a curse, because he said he thinks one of the issues that the team is having rebounding the basketball is a lot of these guys are trying to get out on the fast break before they've secured the rebound. And that is something that he said they spent a lot of time watching film. And he also said that these guys aren't going to watch the film unless we show them the film, which I do think was interesting. I would be curious to know, if other teams are from around the league, if their guys are just kind of watching film on their own, or if it's mostly the coaching staff forcing them to watch the film. But Malone said they watch over the last 48 hours, they watched a lot of film. And, he also said that it's not just showing the guys the film and telling them the numbers as far as how bad their rebounding has been, but it's coming up with solutions, is what I thought was also really interesting from Michael Malone. He's like, we're trying to help these guys by giving them, not just telling them what the problem is, but hey, here's how we can fix it. And I think one of the ways that they have fixed it a little bit, it's just one game and we'll see where this goes, but I think you saw it in today's game. They weren't getting out in transition until they knew they secured the rebound. And you know what? If that takes away from their transition game a little bit, then so be it. Because I think rebounding the basketball is going to be more impactful and more important for this team than just trying to get out on the fast break every single time. Now, look, that is the strength of this team. It's probably their best strength. They're the best team in the NBA in the transition game. I want them to keep doing that. I want them to have that aggressive mindset, but they've got to put a bigger emphasis on securing the rebound first. It's kind of like a receiver in the NFL. How many times do you see a receiver or a tight end drop a pass because they're trying to make their move upfield before they've secured the ball? It's kind of the same thing that the Nuggets are going through. Secure the rebound, then go. And that's just not something they've been doing. But today's game was significantly better in that regard. So let's see here. My guy Kevin says, coming from a Buffs fan, I really think that the Rams could have made it to the Sweet 16. Yeah, if you missed it earlier, the Rams lost on the last second shot. Well, actually, they hit a 3 to go up by 1, which is an awesome shot, by the way. In fact, I don't even know who the kid was. I'll have to look up his name. It was like a rainbow arcing 3, just drilled it. And, Maryland brings it up the court, gets across the half-court line, call a timeout. There's 3.7 seconds left. And then the dude travels on the game-winning shot. Maryland hits it. They don't call it, and they win. CSU loses the game by 1. Just a heartbreaking loss for CSU. I do feel really, really bad about that. But what an awesome season for the CSU Rams. That was really cool to see, and I hope that is something that Nico Medved and the staff up there can use to, build this program over the next decade and not just have this be a one-off. Could this be the start of something cool for that program up in Fort Collins? That would be fantastic to see. And then hopefully the Buffs can get rolling. My excuse for the Buffs this year is they did lose 3 players in the NBA draft. and they're not Duke, they're not North Carolina, they're not UConn, so they don't necessarily have the ability to just bring in 5 stars every year and replace everybody who gets drafted and still be competitive. But you hope that CU can get it going too, because it's just so much fun when you've got Colorado teams in the tournament. So really, really hoping for that. But hey, excellent win for the Nuggets today. 116-111 is the final. Jamal Murray was lights out, especially in that third quarter. He absolutely took this game over in the third quarter. That's, in my opinion, what ultimately won Denver this game, because they struggled scoring the basketball in that fourth quarter. They only scored 20 points in the fourth after scoring 39 in the third. But that explosion, that offensive explosion in that third quarter, allowed the Nuggets to have a little bit of dip in their offensive production and still win the game. So excellent stuff from the Nuggets today. I thought the effort was clearly better than it was in Los Angeles or Portland, which was really great to see again, because it really did seem like, Michael Malone's messaging and basically him calling his team out, it really does seem like it got through to the team, which is absolutely fantastic to see. All right, before we get out of here, let's take a quick listen to Peyton Watts and Scott Hastings. Got a chance to chat with them in the locker room after the game.
How big was that win for you guys?
It was a big time win. We needed that, and we also needed them to lose. So it was a big time win all around. I'm glad guys stepped up.
And going 2-2 on a road trip like this, you said that before it started, you're going to be pretty happy. Second, third game didn't feel good, but this is a good road trip.
Nah, it was a solid road trip. Obviously, some things we got to clean up, but you need the adversity too. You need some of those downs to build you to be a tougher team in the long run, and that's what this road trip was for us. So I'm glad that we were able to leave it off on a win.
Help you get closer even?
Huh?
Help you get a little closer even as a team?
Yeah, most definitely. We need this. It brought us closer for sure, and we played together tonight.
All right, that's good stuff there from Peyton Watson. Yeah, that's what a win like this can do. That's what a road trip late in the season hopefully can do. Is these guys were away from their families, away from the just life responsibilities for, a week, just over a week. And Jared Bednar, the head coach of the Avs, says this all the time. He loves starting the season on a long road trip, especially when you have a bunch of new guys, because it helps the team come together quicker and mesh and, really build chemistry with one another on these long road trips. And, hopefully this is what the Nuggets just went through. And look, sometimes when you bond the closest is when you're going through struggles, and especially this team having to figure out how to win without their centerpiece, literally and figuratively, the best basketball player on planet Earth, having to have other guys step up in place of Nikola Jokic in order to figure out how to win basketball games. That's also something I think can really be beneficial for this team going into the playoffs, because you just never know what happens in the playoffs. And there might be a circumstance in a close game come playoff time where Nikola Jokic gets doubled or triple teamed, and somebody else is going to have to make a play. And the other 4 guys are going to have to figure out, how do we score the basketball when they're taking away our best player? And, this 4-game road trip with no Nikola Jokic, I think can give some of these guys a lot of confidence in that area moving forward. So, hey, great win from the Nuggets tonight. 116-111 is your final. Again, they are just a game back of Houston. My God, the Western Conference standings are just absolutely wild right now. Just a quick look at the Eastern Conference, which has been inferior to the West for what seems like most of my lifetime. I'm 33 years old, and it just seems like ever since I can remember, the Western Conference has just been so much better and deeper than the Eastern Conference. But okay, so you got the Cavs in the 1 seed, who are having a great year, the 57-14. Just a little bit of a worse record than the Oklahoma City Thunder over in the West. then you've got the Celtics 52-19. They're 5 games back of the Cavs. And then you've got a 7.5 game, separation between the Celtics and the New York Knicks, who are in the 3rd seed. The Knicks are 12.5 games back. The Celtics are 5 back. The Pacers, who are in the 4th seed, 15.5. So there's much more separation in the middle of the Eastern Conference there than in the West. I mean, 2 through 8 is a separation of 5 games. 2 through 8. The Timberwolves are currently in the 8th seed in the West right now. They're only 5 games back of the Houston Rockets. I mean, this is going to be an absolutely insane couple of last weeks of the regular season to determine where this seeding goes. And again, like I said, now that Nikola Jokic has been able to get some rest, couple of weeks, hopefully it's another week. If they go to my plan, that's really going to set up the Nuggets to be able to go for the 2 or the 3 seed while not running this team into the ground. I think that's going to hopefully allow them to do that. So we'll see. But hey, excellent win for the Nuggets again tonight. 116-111 is your final. That's going to do it for the post-game show. Really appreciate everybody listening. We will be back tomorrow night. They're back at it here in Ball Arena in the Mile High City. The Nuggets will be taking on the Chicago Bulls and looking to secure another victory there. So we'll catch you then. This has been In the Paint right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.